After dropping points against Newcastle, Wolves and Villa in 3 of their 4 games since Christmas and only picking up 11 points out of a possible 18 since his arrival at the time of writing, 5th in the league during that time, questions are beginning to be asked of Man United interim manager Ralf Rangnick. With their goals per game going from 1.7 in the 14 league games prior to his arrival to 1.5 in his 6 in charge, despite playing just one top half team and every side in the relegation zone, even a drastic improvement in their goals against per game from 1.7 to 0.8 can't overshadow an underwhelming start to life at Old Trafford. Today on Scout Report we want to analyse whether Rangnick's much talked about 4-2-2-2 system is in fact hindering his current squad. But first let's begin with 2 other managers whose tactics are definitely hurting their teams. Let's get started. Fernando Santos. Fernando Santos will always have a special place in the history of Portuguese football. An underwhelming career in club management, which included spells in charge of the Primeira Liga's Big Three and 4 stints in Greece, led to the Greek national team job in 2010 and Portugal's 4 years later. Taking over just 3 months after the AS Seleção were knocked out of the 2014 World Cup at the group stage, Santos deserves credit for steering his side to the 2016 Euros and 2019 Nations League titles, the first in their history. But the 2016 triumph was particularly underwhelming. They qualified 3rd from their group after 3 consecutive draws and won only 1 game, their semi-final against Wales, within 90 minutes. Their return of 9 goals in 7 games, 4 fewer than finalist France and 1 fewer than Wales, was disappointing. Goals alone is a very reductive measure of a team's quality, however, but peer beneath the bonnet and the nature of Santos' sterile football becomes clearer. His side may have averaged 17.6 shots per game, but Ronaldo, coming off a 51-goal season with Real Madrid, provided 6.4 of them, 2.1 more than the tournament's next best Gareth Bale. Factor in that they saw just 51.5% of the ball, 11th in the tournament below the likes of Ukraine, Sweden and Hungary, and it's clear that whilst the side achieved something special, it was far from a dominant, all-conquering display. When Portugal won just 1 of their 4 games at the 2018 World Cup before being knocked out by Uruguay in the last 16, the criticism started to get louder. And by the time they exited Euro 2020 at the same stage to Belgium, it became deafening. Little did they know that just 5 months later in November 2021, they would lose 2-1 to Serbia, forcing them into the playoffs for a spot at the World Cup later this year, with Turkey and European champions Italy or North Macedonia standing in their way. Given the fact Ronaldo has now been joined by world-class talents including Bruno Fernandes, Bernardo Silva, João Felix and Diogo Jota, it's simply inexcusable to have won just 2 of their last 8 games at major tournaments against Morocco and Hungary and face the prospect of missing out on the World Cup for the first time since 1998. But why has it gone wrong? Well, although Santos is actually reasonably flexible in his approach, often switching between 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3 and 4-1-4-1, he is often criticised for his frequent changes in starting personnel and poor in-game substitutions. Take Euro 2020 for example. Bruno Fernandes was jettisoned after 2 fairly average games, despite the fact he contributed 45 goals and assists in 58 games throughout 2021, whilst Ruben Neves was only given 17 minutes of action, whilst the immobile Danilo Pereira started all 4 games. Even his talisman Cristiano Ronaldo has scored a ridiculous 66 goals in his last 63 games under Santos, breaking the international goal-scoring record in the process, has appeared to lay the blame at his door. Moments after their defeat to Serbia, sealed by a late Mitrovic winner, Ronaldo was seen gesticulating on the pitch to his manager, clearly devastated by the result. Unless Portugal overturns some serious odds to make Qatar, Santos' conservative, cautious reign will come to an end in the meekest of ways. Max Allegri. When Max Allegri was reappointed on the 28th of May 2021, we at Football Daily were reasonably positive. Not only was the former Milan manager returning to a club where he won 5 consecutive league titles, including 4 doubles, whilst also reaching 2 Champions League finals, but champions Inter Milan had lost the architect of their triumph, Antonio Conte, just 2 days earlier, following disagreements with the club's hierarchy. Key players Achraf Hakimi and Romelu Lukaku, Serie A MVP in 2021, would follow him out the door, and the advantage appeared to be with the Bianconeri. However, just days before the window closed, the playing field was evened by Cristiano Ronaldo, scorer of 36% of Juve's league goals across his 3 seasons at the club, choosing to return to Man United. For a squad low on confidence, having handed over the Scudetto for the first time in 10 years, who had suffered successive Champions League humiliations at the last 16 stage, this was a major blow. But we can't dress it up any other way. Max Allegri has also been a huge issue. After 2 years out in the cold with very little concrete interest from potential suitors, we perhaps shouldn't have been surprised that his tactics and squad management have left a lot to be desired. With an ageing backline, a litany of underperforming midfielders, no guarantee of regular goals, and arguably his most consistent attacking player, Paulo Dybala, frequently injured, Allegri has had his work cut out, but he also hasn't helped himself. In only one of Juve's first 12 games of the league season did he deviate from 4-4-2. A run that saw them win just 5 games, all by a single goal margin, was tasting defeat 4 times. By the 6th of November, Juve were 8th, 4 points off the top 4 and 14 behind leaders Inter Milan. The only time Allegri has utilised that formation since was against Atalanta, their only defeat in their last 10 games. In that run he has generally utilised 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, and the results have been markedly improved, with their goals per game going from 1.3 in his first 12 games to 1.8 in their last 10, and their goals against per game more than halving from 1.25 to 0.6. Inter are the only side to have picked up more than their 23 points since the 20th of November, albeit with some teams having played fewer games. As for Allegri's style, he's frequently been criticised for being too passive. Despite having some excellent ball players at his disposal such as Locatelli, Bonucci and De Ligt, Juve have averaged under 54% possession this term, only marginally more than rivals Torino, and their lowest since 2010-11. When they do lose the ball, the old lady are perfectly happy to retreat into a mid-block and wait for opposition mistakes, with 9 sides in Italy and 40 in Europe's top 5 leagues attempting more pressures in the final third than their 678. Having only finished as the league's top scorers once in Allegri's 5 years in charge during his first stint, the old lady faithful weren't expecting Klopp-style entertainment. But to have been outscored by 9 teams, including Empoli across the first 22 league games of the season, whilst only having the 4th best defence is bitterly disappointing. Juve's goal difference of +13 ranks them 16th in Europe between Strasbourg and Leverkusen. For a team that has spent a net €236 million since the start of 2018-19 on transfer fees alone, compared to Milan's €234 million and Inter's €14 million in the same period, that is simply not good enough, and Allegri has to shoulder his share of the blame. Ralf Rangnick. Man United have only lost 1 of their 8 games under Ralf Rangnick so far, but given the fact 3 of those came against relegation-threatened teams and another against young boys playing just their second year in the Champions League group stages, the Red Devils faithful might have expected more. Of course, with players like Maguire, Shaw, Rashford and Sancho lacking in form and confidence, key players like Pogba out with injury, and training disrupted by COVID, it wasn't fair to expect the German to suddenly turn them into an elite team. But having taken over with a side 3 points behind 4th place West Ham after 14 games, to be 5 behind, albeit with 2 games in hand at the time of writing, barely represents a seismic improvement. Crucially, the fixtures favour him, with West Ham the only team higher than 12th they face in their next 5 league games, before a titanic march in which they play City, Spurs, Atletico Madrid and Liverpool within the space of 14 days. So he needs points fast, but how likely is he to get them? Well, if they continue at current rates, not very. Across his 6 league games in charge at the time of writing, United have averaged 13.7 shots per game with 4.3 on target. With their average shots per game across the entire season standing at 13.7 and shots on target 4.9, United's attack simply hasn't taken a step forward. Their defence has marginally improved with their average shots conceded per game under the new management standing at 12.3, down from 13.9 across the whole season. Considering the calibre of opposition faced to still be conceding 12.3 shots, 7th in the division above Brighton and Southampton is concerning. What's more, they are still facing 5.5 shots on target per game compared to the 4.3 times they test the opposition keepers, which isn't a recipe for fast improvement. United have looked slightly more organised in defence and in their press in patches, but we're still yet to see a full 90-minute performance nearly 6 weeks into Rangnick's reign. With his system requiring all action forwards prepared to press from the front, wide men equally comfortable stepping into tight spaces and tracking back, and 2 mobile central midfielders with an eye for a pass, the debate continues to rage about whether United have the squad to fulfil what Rangnick wants. What is even more concerning is that so early into his short interim tenure there have been numerous reports that United's squad aren't responding well to his methods, and the hierarchy have thus far been reluctant to back him in January. In a season in which Champions League football was supposed to be the bare minimum, their 7th place standing is a huge embarrassment. The world is watching Ralf. Good luck. So guys, that was 3 managers whose tactics are seemingly hurting their team at the moment. Do you agree with our suggestions though, and did we miss anyone out? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to EuroFootball Daily with notifications turned on, and I'll catch you later.